season and still something to play for. Top spot in the West up for grabs, a win or a tie, and Winnipeg locks it up. A loss by the Bombers, and the Riders still have a chance.
Don't you know the legends never die? I should have been an outlaw, ready for a quick draw. Everybody call me the gunslinging southpaw. Ain't no time for run. You never saw me come. I could be dangerous, I could be famous. My name living all of the papers, saying I'm the one. I belong with the one.
In the running for MOP, Brady Oliveira needing just 217 yards to break 2,000 on the season. And speaking of potential MOPs, to see how long the starters, including Tyrese Beverette, will stay in today. As we know, these Montreal Alouettes locked into first place in the East. But it doesn't get much better that at week 21 of the CFL season, there's still something to play for. Kate Burness alongside Enoch Mwamba, Jim Barker, Milt Stegall as we get set for the Montreal Alouettes taking on these Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And Enoch, as I said, I mean, we're at this point in the season and we still don't know top spot in the West.
Kate, you're talking about something to play for. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers have something to play for, not just tonight. I think they have a lot to prove to a lot of people. What do we talk about when we mention the Winnipeg Blue Bombers is their shortcomings when they get to the Grey Cup. This is going to be one step closer to getting back to where they need to get to again.
Well, for all Saskatchewan Roughrider fans, I think this game's important for Montreal. I think they don't want to go into the playoffs backing in. They saw last year how important it is to have some momentum.
Right.
You don't turn it on and turn it off when it comes to playing physical football, and that's what you have to do in the playoffs. We've said it many times, Milt, but I think this game is big for Montreal. I think that Winnipeg's going to have all they can handle.
Yeah, Enoch brought up Winnipeg's shortcomings. I knew you would bring that up because you were part of them as you beat them in the Grey Cup, but we won't talk about that. But these Winnipeg Blue Bombers, they better win this game. They lose this game, we know the Saskatchewan Roughriders aren't losing to the Stampeders, and if Winnipeg has to win 2 games, one of them happened to be in Saskatchewan to get to the Grey Cup, that's going to be difficult to do.
Now, we know that the Bomber fans are so loyal, and every single one of them watching this game. How many Rough Rider fans are watching this game right now? They have never cheered harder against the Bombers, and that says something, because we know, these two are such rivals. The Alouettes, though, locked into that top spot in the East, coming out of the birdcage, should be a great one from Montreal. Kickoff coming up next.
Welcome to Montreal, where the Bombers look to lock down the West on their own terms against the East Final hosting Alouettes. Percival Molson is the canvas. We'll paint the picture for you all game long. We're going to add a little bit of blue, maybe a little bit of gold here throughout the afternoon. One person who always sees red going forward when he's running hard is, of course, Brady Oliveira.
Yeah, absolutely. Brady is the treasure of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers offense, an MOP candidate, the odds-on favorite to be the league's most outstanding Canadian as he leads the league in rushing. Another terrific season for him. And as for Tyrese Beverette, also an MOP candidate, Montreal's nominee as most outstanding defensive player. He looks to continue pillaging opposing offenses throughout the playoffs.
There's Jason Moss, wants to get his team fired up and rolling as quickly as possible after only scoring 3 points against the BC Lions last week. And Mike O'Shea, there will be no happy accidents today as they look to lock down the West Division with a victory and hold off the rival Saskatchewan Roughriders. A picturesque afternoon for football here in week number 21 to wind things down on another tremendous Canadian Football League regular season. Marshall Ferguson, Dwayne Ford, and Kenzie Lalonde with us at field level as well throughout the afternoon to get everything all settled in the playoff picture as the Bombers have it on the tee. And Montreal with Sean Thomas Erlington back alongside Tyjon Lindsay. Returns it across the 20, the 30, and pushes his way out to the 40-yard line as we bring out Cody Fajardo of the Montreal Alouettes.
Yeah, so often when you get to this stage in the season, regardless of records, it's about trying to make sure you're ready for the postseason. Make sure your offense in particular is humming. Cody Fajardo sat out against Ottawa. He looks to make sure that he's back in sync with his receivers in this ballgame.
He's been banged up at various points this season. Had to miss time, obviously, with the hamstring. Took a shot in the game against the Ottawa Redblacks back a couple of weeks ago. Missed a game in the birth of a child, but it's go time now. Cody knows that and excited to get it going here in week 21. They'll begin by looking to throw over the top, and one of the receivers they want to get going is that man, as Austin Mack was the intended receiver. Tyrell Ford right there. One of the outstanding Canadians, and it looks like an interception originally. We'll see where they mark. They'll say incomplete. The call is incomplete. Tyrell Ford immediately
on the field,
wants a review.
Incomplete pass. Pass incomplete.
Here you see Mack motions down to the formation, then bending that out route.
That looks like an interception.
I thought he had stole it and had possession. Did he bobble it as he was going out of bounds? He did see the ball slip down a little bit.
So Cody Fajardo gets another opportunity and again goes down the field. Tyler Sneed trying to run underneath it. And right there, once again, the Bombers secondary that's been dominant over the second half of this season hold it off. So a 2 and out for the Alouettes to begin, but they come out firing.
Yeah, this time it's Tyler Sneed, the intended target, coming out of the slot. Little double move there, catches Evan Holm flat-footed. But quarterback and receiver just unable to connect on the play.
Pay attention here now. Pay attention.
Bombers defense only allowing 14.7% of explosive pass plays on the season. That's the lowest in the Canadian Football League. They've found ways to prevent the big shots down the field, and not without trying, as Fajardo sets the tone early. This one, good pressure coming in from Tanner Cadwallader out of Laurier on special teams. Lucky Whitehead will return it from his own 15-yard line and gets about 8 yards. On the other end is a 54-yard punt, and now Zach Collaros backed up in his own end, but enjoying the fruits of his labor in the second half of this season, bringing Winnipeg all the way back into the playoff picture.
Yeah, Winnipeg, of course, coming off the loss to Toronto that ended their 8-game win streak. That game, thought the Argos were dominant at the line of scrimmage. We talk about teams looking to clean things up going into the playoffs. That certainly is a place where Winnipeg looks to turn things back around this week against Montreal.
And 2 rookies on offense, Michael Chris Ike and Kevin Sklercius as well, in to start the ball game here. As pass is complete to Ontario Wilson, as Burns right there to make the play. Lorenzo Burns, and he'll go up against this Winnipeg offense.
Yeah, talk about this offensive line, a group led by Stanley Bryant, once again the Bombers nominee as most outstanding offensive lineman. And Ontario Wilson certainly will be in the conversation as most outstanding rookie, as he has emerged as the Bombers' leading receiver this season.
Got to be up there based on not only his statistics, but also the influence of time missed for Kenny Lawler, Dalton Schoen, all the rest. He stepped in a huge way this season, as Collaros now goes a little drag route over the middle, and it is complete. Carrick Wheatfall makes the grab, and the first 2 plays here, Dwayne, going to a couple of receivers that have had to jump into the lineup and make solid efforts, and Zach talked a lot this week about trying to get on the same page with those receivers.
Yeah, it took some time at the start of the year, but one of the themes for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers has been trusting the process. They got off to that horrific, by Blue Bomber standards, start. But so many veterans on this team, so many guys that have been with them for this ride to the last 4 Grey Cup games, that it's a little easier to have faith when you've got that on your resume.
I love Zach said, we didn't find the old solutions, we found new ones, and we just tried to progress from there. As now he'll look to his right-hand side, rip this one out, flag is up. As this pass is completed right at the first down marker. It will be a first down, it looks like, if it stands, but it'll go against the Bombers.
Offside. Winnipeg number 89, 5-yard penalty. Hors-jeu, Winnipeg numéro 89, 5 verges de pénalité, premier repris.
Kenny Lawler jumping offside the line of scrimmage.
Lawler in motion here, trying to time things up. You saw that stutter step. Knew he was a little early, but just couldn't slow the momentum.
A little help from Noel Thorpe, standing there, defensive coordinator for the Alouettes. Pointing the official in the right direction, so it backs up Winnipeg, 1st and 15. After the completion, Dembski gets nullified. Collaros, tons of time in the pocket against a 3-man rush, and completes another underneath throw to Ontario Wilson, as the Montreal defense has been dominant throughout the season, led by that man, Tyrese Beverette.
Absolutely. And, one of the guys that got back partway through the year, Walt Uguak, a first-round pick a year ago, returning from his NFL shot, gets to start today. Darnell Sankey leading the way with 100 defensive tackles for Ottawa. Wesley Sutton, a couple late-season interceptions added to his stats. See if he can continue that role.
Darnell Sankey's got to be going. Leading the league in tackles again. I can't even get nominated for MOP on my own team because Tyrese Beverette's so good. Standing right next to him. Collaros looks into a window. Kenny Lawler. And Zach had to fit that one in. And Kenny Lawler will continue his catch streak. This one will bump him up to 53 straight games.
Yeah, this is just a demonstration of the confidence that Zach Collaros has in Kenny Lawler to make plays. Essentially, when Zach throws that ball, he's throwing it directly at a defender, recognizing that Kenny Lawler is going to get there, for one, and is going to protect that football from the defender.
Gain of 16 yards from 8 to 89. Now Collaros shows run to Brady Oliveira. Steps into another one. Curl route right at the sticks once again. And Collaros in rhythm here early on, as that'll go for 11 yards and another first down.
Lawler with a little bit of space to work. The only other receiver on that side was Clarcius, who was coming from a tight end position. Essentially isolating one of your go-to guys.
On fire to get this one going is Collaros, 5 of 5. As he fakes the run once again, rolls to his right, and his first incompletion skips off the turf as Wesley Sutton was in coverage on Kenny Lawler.
Yeah, just some momentum overtook him there, moving to his right. That one drifts in that direction. Avery Ellis supplying the pressure. Impacted Zach's accuracy on that one.
The standard Zach holds himself to, 5 for 5, moving down the field, misses one throw, wrong angle. Furious. And this place is ready to host the East Final. The noise piles in on second down as now pressure from behind. Collaros flips it backhanded. It's completed, and looks like Oliveira just puts his head down. Tries to get as much as he possibly can short of the sticks. But in plus territory, Mike O'Shea pausing for a second here to look at it.
And Jordan Dominic getting an opportunity to get some reps on that defensive line. University of Colorado product coming from the end, gets his hands on Collaros, but the veteran quarterback has the presence of mind to find his running back, Brady Oliveira, as an outlet. At least make this a slightly easier kick for Sergio Castillo.
No doubt Castillo has been sensational on the year, one of the longest averages season long that you'll see in CFL history. He's knocking 50-yarders through left, right, and center. This one will indeed go to the right. So Castillo misses, and now trying to return it from his own end zone. It is Lindsay, and flags come up at the end of the play as well, as we will sort out the penalty flags. Likely a misconduct as Castillo with swirling winds at Percival Molson misses, and we remain scoreless. For the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, it is not a win and you're in scenario here in week number 21, but you'd like to be able to play at home and certainly reward the fans that have been absolutely packing their stadium for the last 4 or 5 years. As a Winnipeg win, well, that's really all you need to know. It sets them up for success. It gets them a break, get a little healthier. And Saskatchewan getting set to go in the back end of this double dip in the CFL to round out the season. And watching, I'm sure, closely as they go through their pregame routines as an inside handoff here, as we see the Alouettes starting offense after there was offsetting and misconduct penalties on that previous special team snap before the break.
Yeah, late change to the Montreal lineup on offensive line. Donnie Ventrelli comes in at right tackle for Jamar McGloster, who came in for Josh Donovan.
Yes.
Who was injured in BC last week. And keep an eye on Austin Mack as he continues to search for that breakout game. 90-plus yards against Ottawa on 4 catches a couple weeks ago. For a guy who was so prolific last year. Obviously, the Alouettes hoping that Cody Fajardo and Austin Mack can find that chemistry in time for the postseason.
Yeah, absolutely. Brian Cole is the injured Winnipeg Blue Bomber down on the field. He's the starting weak side linebacker. But Austin Mack still looking for the first touchdown of the season. Just 7 catches since he's signed. So they will try to get him up to speed. And we'll see what Montreal's offense can do the remainder of the day. Step aside while they take a look at Brian Cole. At least one playoff matchup as the Bombers try to take care of their business here today. The playoffs kick off at BMO Field. The Red Blacks and the Argonauts Eastern semifinal. It is next Saturday. Pre-game coverage begins at 2 Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on TSN and CTV.
TSN and CTV.
And CTV. You turn on your television in Canada, you go looking for sports next Saturday. You're going to find the CFL. TSN and CTV. Should be a great matchup. Argos Red Blacks as Cody Fajardo throws to the outside here, incomplete. And Tyler Sneed goes sliding into the signage here at Percival Molson. Incomplete, and so the Montreal offense comes to a grinding halt once again.
Yeah, this one just sails on Cody Fajardo. Beyond the reach of the former East Carolina Pirate, Tyler Sneed.
A little disappointed when you were in Ottawa last night that Justin Hardy didn't get a chance to keep chugging along, another ECU guy?
Well, it would have been fun to see, just knowing that there are a couple milestones that fellow former Pirate was chasing, but obviously bigger picture, they want to have him healthy for the playoffs, so Hardy sitting out last night.
A kick here from Joseph Zima. Drops it down to the 55 exactly, and Lucky Whitehead crosses the 45. Nice return, 13 yards after a 47-yard punt. 34 yards net there in the flip of field position. Winnipeg already in positive territory, and here is Zach Collaros. And a bit of a struggle at times against Toronto a couple of weeks ago, but he's had the bye to look it over and feels confident coming into this one.
Yeah, it's certainly not a case of Zach not playing well in that game, but his opportunities to make plays limited by the onslaught that he faced from that Toronto defense, and in particular, that fearsome front four.
Sliding around the pocket, though, really does look like vintage Zach as the weather gets colder. And the Bombers try to put together a playoff run, and they've been using plenty of this man on the ground. Brady Oliveira leading the Canadian Football League in rushing yards, and really the engine of this offense.
Yeah, good looking hole here. Seeing Kevin Clarcius getting some snaps. In a blocking role, big-bodied receiver, moving in from his wide-out spot.
And Michael Chris Ike and Kevin Clarcius, the rookies, have really given this offense a little bit of flexibility. Big bodies, blocking, run extremely well. As Oliveira picks up the blitz from Tyrese Beverett. Collaros gets it out to Ontario Wilson. And Pokey goes for a roll down inside the 20-yard line and right into the score zone again. Go the Bombers.
And love the protection here, doing a little bit of everything. So you're going to see Tyrese Beverett timing it up. Brady Oliveira coming across the formation to look after him on that side. Nick Dembski in protection on the other side.
Collaros this time checks it down. Oliveira. And he's tackled there by Najee Murray. And what do you think on that pass blocking rep on that last snap and the completion? You think Brady comes over and says, "My MOP." Face to face with Tyrese.
Yeah, they'll let the voters decide, but certainly two of the favorites in that discussion. No doubt talk more about it, but congratulations to all of the award nominees at the team level.
Yeah, great crop of players. Hard to even become a pro, let alone be the MOP nominee on your professional football team here in Canada. As Collaros into the back of the end zone. Kenny Lawler falls underneath it, incomplete. Tried to drag the toes, but it just popped out of his hands.
Yeah, had to stretch himself out just enough. But to see as he lays out, gets his hands on this one. Nice adjustment to the ball, but in no way able to even cushion that landing at the end. See knees down first, but the arms coming down hard before he really had control of the ball. So that one pops loose.
A 25-yard field goal attempt here for Sergio Castillo. Missed one earlier on. The two good possessions. And the Winnipeg offense has been moving the football. They take an early lead, but certainly feels like they've left a lot on the table in this first quarter. Castillo righting his wrongs from earlier on. Winnipeg takes the early lead as they look to clinch the West. Hard to believe, but Austin Mack just 7 catches this season in his return. 4 of them came for 92 yards, though, a couple of weeks ago against the Ottawa Redblacks, and what was a very trying day to try and get the football down the field vertically, but Mack certainly helped.
Yeah, and that's the presence that they hope he can provide in this Montreal offense. Another big-time vertical threat. His one previous season in the CFL, very well documented in 2023.
Get this one out into the hands of Charleston Rambo. Gets thrown out by Evan Holm there as the Winnipeg defense once again leading the league in points per game allowed, and these are their starters.
Yeah, Jake Thomas amongst those seeking to get to a 5th straight Grey Cup in Winnipeg, one of their longest serving members. We saw Brian Cole banged up earlier, but he got the start at the weak side linebacker spot. Jake Kelly, the Bishop's product, getting the start at free safety. Brandon Alexander on the shelf for this one, looking to be ready for the postseason.
Fajardo gets a completion, his first of the ball game, and now he'll double down. Goes out to that wide side. Tyler Sneed puts the shoulder down and gets to the first down marker.
Think about some of the injuries that Montreal has dealt with in their receiving corps throughout this season. You know, guys coming and going from that Alouettes lineup. It really speaks to the depth of the group.
Fajardo back-to-back completions, make it a trio. They go back to Keon Julian Grant, his first grab of the ball game. They love running those tunnel screens with Keon, Dwayne, because they know how great he is yards after the catch.
Yeah, terrific, deceptively powerful runner. A guy who is both fast but also physically strong, capable of breaking some tackles. But this is a guy who is an all-star kick returner at the university level at St. Francis Xavier University. So you know he's got some shakes in the open field as well.
A lot of plays like that this season helping Cody Fajardo lead the league in completion percentage, 73.3%. As he will hand this one off. Walter Fletcher gets a touch up in between the tackles on second down, moves the chains, and for Fletcher, a season high in a single game of just 90 yards. He has never this season crossed 100 yards on the ground, but that's because he does so much in the receiving game for them as well.
Yeah, still a huge contributor, obviously, to the Montreal Alouettes offense. And many of those receiving yards that you see, particularly when you talk about Fletcher's yards after the catch, it's really kind of an extension of the run game.
Jason Moss has schemed that up in a way that's deceiving when you look at just the rushing numbers. Certainly doesn't look like Brady Oliveira on the ground. But Brady O did tell us a couple weeks ago before the game against Toronto that he actually watches Walter Fletcher and what he does here in Montreal to understand how he can be a better receiver. And he loves how much Fletcher is able to get out of the backfield and make people miss in the open field.
Yeah, nearly 600 yards after the catch for Walter Fletcher this season, 587.
There's an injured Winnipeg Blue Bomber down on the field. Yeah, that's Jamal Woods, defensive lineman, his first year out of Illinois. Brian Cole was down, and now Woods as well. And not yet out of the first quarter here, but the Bombers battling health. As Cody Fajardo alongside Keon Julian Grant and Austin Mack spent most of the commercial break talking with them here in the huddle, trying to get on the same page. But yeah, you see the last 20 starts, postseason included, that completion percentage number is, I mean, he and Jason Moss have just figured out how to be high percentage and efficient.
Yeah, and these guys have gotten to know each other so well. Obviously, their time as coordinator and quarterback in Regina before working together here goes a long way in terms of the coach really understanding how to put his quarterback in the best possible position to succeed.
So many explosive plays to begin the season as well. They had 12 of 30 yards or more in their first 5 games this year. And Fajardo goes for a little quarterback draw, run up the middle on second down and going nowhere. The Bombers were all over that one. It's good to see Brian Cole back on the field making plays.
Yeah, Cole, bottom right corner of your screen. Slight delay and then stepping up to meet Fajardo in the hole. Wasn't fooled, never turned his attention away from the quarterback. Good discipline there and awareness.
And how much will they use quarterback run? The question, I guess, going into the East Final, hosting it, knowing that Fajardo's been banged up at times throughout this season, as this one will come from about 44, 45 yards away. Jose Maltos, as the wind really starting to whip in a variety of directions here at Percival Molson. Flags at the top of the stadium splitting the difference as to which direction they want to go. Well, how about just splitting the uprights for Maltos? Little flex. And enjoy walking back to the sideline, celebrating 3 points on the board for Montreal.
Yeah, we've touched on it before. Jose Maltos has been one of the kind of cool stories for the Montreal Alouettes this season. One of the CFL's original global players, came into the league with Ottawa initially.
Maltos has been hitting the gym.
Yes, sir.
Why not?
But has proven to be a reliable replacement.
Yes.
With David Cote sidelined for so much of this season.
Really an underrated storyline, because it just kind of casually, organically, oh, okay, yeah, Zima's going to be in for this game, and then never gave the job back as Cote has been out. The Bombers now in a tie game once again. Claros looks outside, timing throw, and just in behind Ontario Wilson. Looks like Kavian Ento was in coverage with a flag down. Was it a push off on Wilson or defensive pass interference here, Dwayne?
Yeah, we'll get another look at this one to determine, but given the separation, we're looking at the outside matchup for Ontario Wilson versus Kavian Ento. You know,
6.
That's a tough one.
yeah, it didn't look that blatant to me in terms of Wilson extending his arms.
Offensive, Winnipeg numéro 86, diverge de pénalité, premier repris.
Don't you teach that when you're going to camp as a chicken wing? Isn't that what that's called? A little run into the back, little chicken wing, throw the elbow out a little. Claricius, Wheat falling Kenny Lawler go to the top of your screen. They'll split Brady Oliveira out 3-by-3 and go underneath. Marc-Antoine Dequoy flies down from his free safety spot to tackle Claricius as the Montreal native one-on-one against the former Montreal Caravan.
Yeah, you can see Dubois up in the top right corner of your screen. Sneaking down towards the line of scrimmage a little bit. Putting himself in perfect position to make that play.
Wolfthorpe plays his guys all over the place, and it's amazing how often you see Dubois just kind of roaming 10 yards away from the line of scrimmage, looking for anything he can to chase down, get an interception. See what he does here on 2nd and 14. Collaros quick drop, looks over the top, into the wind. Dembski down the field. Sutton hangs in the air, and Wesley Sutton has the interception. Spinning away from tacklers and out to the 49-yard line. But for now, Collaros has thrown a pick with a flag down on the field, and Zach coming up a little bit worse for wear. Stanley Bryant is waving back the Bombers' offense.
Illegal contact and receiver. Montreal 22, 10-yard penalty. We're going to replay 2nd down. Contact illégal sur un receveur. Montréal numéro 22.
So if Wesley Sutton is going to extend his 2-game interception streak to 3, he'll need another shot. With that one taken off the board.
Time. Thank you. We've got 10.
Deontay Ruffin, defending party on that one. As we head towards the final play of the first quarter. 3-3 with Winnipeg looking to clinch the West Division and not let Saskatchewan back into it. Is now Jeffrey Canton-Arcou flies back alongside Wesley Sutton to try and get a hold of Nick Dembski, but Nick makes the play. Nick Dembski coming in, 940 yards receiving on the season, in reach of the 1K mark. We'll see whether or not he gets there. And we'll see if the Bombers can lock this thing down in week 21 of the CFL. Look at this photograph! A perfect summation of the first quarter here in Montreal. 3-3 is your score, as not many rushing yards, just 23 between these two teams. You really think Brady Oliveira probably has to get going, Dwayne, as they continue in this second quarter.
Yeah, absolutely. He's the bread and butter guy in terms of their offense. They also want to give their offensive line a chance to get a little bit of momentum, get on something of a roll, and obviously if they're running the ball, it limits the risk to their quarterback, Zach Collaros, going into the playoffs as well. Looking
forward to seeing exactly what Brady can put together as punctuation on his season. When you think about the most outstanding player nomination that he has, it almost might be best for Brady if he gets a chance to play in the West Semi and be able to lay down an even better performance to really drive home the fact of how good he has been in helping this team get back to the standard that they have set, but no interest in having to play that West Semi if they can win here today. They do go to Oliveira to kick things off, and he'll pick up about 3 yards on first down.
Box absolutely packed here defensively for Montreal, looking to defend against Brady Oliveira.
Wolfthorpe dialing it up, chomping on that gum up and down the sideline. And he tries to confuse Collaros here on 2nd and 8. Zach goes underneath. Wilson makes another grab. Marc-Antoine Dubois on a hook up high on Wilson, but no flags come out. It looks like they will mark this just shy of the first down marker.
You can see there with coverage just sitting off, an opportunity for Wilson to sit it down, take the quick hitter. As we've seen already a couple times in this ball game, Marc-Antoine Dubois so good, stepping up to make plays from his safety position.
And Collaros looking a little confused as Dubois watches on, trying to understand exactly what they need for substitutions here as the field goal unit does come out late. Jansen Sheehan, the punter, is the holder. Sergio Castillo Taken from 25, and he's been knocking them through from 60 this year, but this one will be from 47 yards away. The Alouettes do get their field goal return unit on. Should there be a miss? No chance. Sergio Castillo, money going this direction to kick things off in the second quarter. Low snap that time. Sheehan really had to trap it and get it onto the ground for Castillo, who slides it just inside that left upright. Long time since the Bombers have been able to get themselves into several consecutive West Finals, hosting 62 years to be exact. They are looking at every single way that they can get back there. Let's go down to the third member of our team, Kenzie Lalonde.
Yeah, Marshall. Head coach Mike O'Shea opting not to practice the Blue Bombers this week, instead of prioritizing rest. And nobody knows rest better than Sleeping Beauty. Whereas Mike O'Shea had to learn this lesson the hard way heading into the 2016 playoffs. He opted to practice his teams 3 times that week. When the game came, he felt his group was tired. So later after that game, he wrote up on his whiteboard, rest is best. And it remains up there in his office to this day. So the guys did not practice 48 hours ago. Mike O'Shea also saying he thinks it helps his coaches remain creative, and of course to giving the guys time off.
Yeah, it was interesting to hear Osh this week talk about the importance of rest. As a big run here. Sean Thomas Erlington goes charging across the 55, and he's dragging bodies all the way down to the 40. What a run by STE.
Well, it took till week 21, but that just might have been my favorite run of the entire season. Sean Thomas Erlington, great job at the line of scrimmage by that offensive line, giving him a crease, and then just carrying bodies with him. Advancing into Blue Bomber territory.
Somebody get a hold of Kyle Brandt. That was an angry run.
Could there be a scepter in Sean Thomas Erlington's future?
So. I think so. Send it north of the border, Kyle. We'll send you the mailing address. Go right back to Sean. Why not? Spins off contact. What was amazing about that long, powerful run, too, I've watched enough of Sean Thomas Erlington in his career, Dwayne. He was very close to trying to go for the hurdle as he ran right between the hashes, and then he decided, yeah, you know what? I'll just stay right here on the ground.
Yes, it worked out well for him. Montreal guy who made his way back home in free agency. Spent some time as the starting running back, the feature back during his time as a Hamilton Tiger Cat. Now playing a supporting role behind Walter Fletcher, but again, great depth piece to have for the Alouettes.
3-man rush. Fajardo going over the top of Brian Cole, who's expanding out from his linebacker spot, and Tyler Sneed, diminutive, but always seems to find the right spot at 5'7", 173, makes the grab.
Yeah, Brian Cole very nearly getting a hand on that as he had his eyes on quarterback Cody Fajardo to see where he was looking. But the Alouette quarterback just slipping it past the outstretched fingertips of the Winnipeg linebacker.
Fajardo now 4 of 7, just 27 yards. Looking for more here. Deep crossing route by Keon Julian Grant, catches it at the 10 and tackled down at the 2-yard line.
Julian Grant, another guy, I think, still trying to find his groove after spending some time on the injured list this year. But as we mentioned about Austin Mack, if you can really have this guy in sync with Cody Fajardo going into that East final, that would be quite a boon for this Alouette offense.
Last year, it was Keon Julian Grant watching on as Tyson Philpott scored the game-winning touchdown in the Grey Cup against these Bombers, and Tyson done for the year with injury. As soon as it happened, turned to Keon, told him, no, now it's your opportunity. I get to watch you score a game-winning touchdown. Well, see if you can get into the end zone here in week 21 first as they go outside. Charleston Rambo will throw up the U.
Charleston Rambo, Alouette's leading receiver during the regular season. Newcomer who saw his role grow as he became more comfortable with the Canadian game. Adding to his yardage total and touchdown tally on the season. That his 5th major of the year.
Altos looks to add the extra point. As Rambo adjusting to the cutoff end zones here at Percival Molson Stadium. It's a big catch, 5 plays, 70 yards in 3 minutes, 10 seconds. Win this week would give the Owls their first series sweep over Winnipeg since 2010. Oh, that'll help. Fajardo excited to be playing here in front of the home fans. Began 0 for 3, now 6 of his last 6. Sean Thomas Erlington in that angry run really is what energized the Alouettes.
Yeah, certainly did. Got things started and fired up the rest of the squad. Big play by another one of the Owls' Canadian stars, Julian Grant, and Charleston Rambo. First-year Alouette receiver finishing it off.
Whitehead, zone 20, nice return that time by Whitehead, trying to challenge the special teams unit of the Alouettes here throughout the afternoon. Is Brady Oliveira trying to get the wheels turning in week 21, make sure that he's up to speed, as you see most rushing yards this season, and after even a slow start on the ground attack, let alone many of the other areas that were ailing the Bombers at the start of the season, he has really covered a lot of ground.
Yeah, you look back to when Brady Oliveira was drafted, and Winnipeg had the Canadian Andrew Harris at running back. Brady was the backup, and then quickly established himself as the heir apparent to that running back spot.
Go off tackle here, cut it back, and use those legs to keep moving. Found it interesting how much he talked a couple weeks ago, Dwayne, about the process of trying to keep his body right throughout the year. He basically said, guys in the locker room just laugh at me because I'm so religious about trying to make sure I'm always fresh.
Well, and it's something that I honestly believe that you learn over the course of your career. Is early on you have it drilled into you so much, the importance of hard work, but you come to understand working smart is as important as working hard. So that doesn't mean slacking off, but also taking care of yourself, knowing when you need to look after rest and recovery.
So you can put your head down and go get a first down like Brady does there, but it goes back to what Kenzie Lalonde was speaking about, rest being best, and the Bombers trying to find creative solutions in order to make sure everybody is at their very best at the moment where they need to be. And we even said to Mike O'Shea, why do we come out 3 hours before the game and do stretch lines and things? He said, you know what, you're right. If you could really do it one way, and maybe this is a little bit old school emotion, but you basically said you just try to get your body up to speed as close to kickoff as you possibly can, and then you go.
Yeah, there are certain things, and football isn't the only sport where things just become the custom. We do things a certain way because that's how they've always been done, not because they make the most sense.
This one completed. Darnell Sankey laying the boom out wide. Ontario Wilson will handstand there, picking himself up off the turf, but a nice throw from Colaro's completion and first down for the Bombers.
The development of Ontario Wilson has been so important to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers this season. Dalton shown out for much of the year. Kenny Lawler missing the first half of the season. Drew Wolotarski down for much of the season as well.
Getting close to 1,000 yards. Came in with 943, did Wilson. Last year, Winnipeg had 2 with Nick Dembski and Dalton Schoen. Of course, Schoen still on the injured list, out. As flags fly.
Offside, hors-jeu, Winnipeg, numéro 89, number 99, 5-yard penalty, 5 verges de pénalité.
Keep an eye on that matchup at the top of your screen. Kenny Lawler, the wideout. Not sure if those air horns are making it tough to hear Zach Collaros' cadence.
It's never easy to hear the cadence in here. It doesn't matter whether it's a team from the East, the West, first quarter, fourth quarter. And either the Red Blacks or the Argos will have to contend with that in the East Final. That will be right here at Percival Molson on TSN and CTV But plenty of football to come before we get to that East final as Kenny Lawler makes the grab this time. A little RPO look inside and then rip the slant.
Just finding different ways to get the ball into the hands. The always dangerous Kenny Lawler.
And keep it away from the always dangerous Jeffrey Canton-Arcou, who's been unbelievable for the Alouettes defense in his rookie years. This time, Collaros has it batted down. You mentioned him earlier on, Dwayne. Fantastic performance from Jordan Dominic the last couple of weeks.
And watch the move here from Dominic. Flipping into the old Odell Willis bag of tricks. The spin move to beat the tackle Eric Lofton inside.
Funny you should mention that, because first place coming down to the last game. Last time that first place was on the line for Winnipeg in the final game of the season was 2011. Swaggerville.
Yes.
Entered the final week of 2011. Tied with Montreal at 10-7 as a 53-yard attempt is good from Sergio Castillo. Castillo loves it. Hammering it through the breeze in Montreal. 10-9. Montreal leads the Bombers. There's Tyson Philpott, done for the season on the sidelines, but certainly inspiring all sorts of people in and around Montreal. Kenzie Lalonde has more.
Well, look, Halloween is right around the corner, and CFL super fan Sabrina Wen is her favorite CFL player, Tyson Philpott. And so I figured, well, guys, it's only fitting to go with my favorite CFL player. You know what I mean? 1993, Mr. Dwayne Ford. And I mean, shoulder pads so big he could take flight. And it's not the two-time championship he won Grey Cup, not the Vanier Cup, it's just the way he hit them on his way through the field. So Dwayne Ford, I'll send it over to you.
Did you get the pad height correct?
I am touched, but I don't even have a Bomber jersey from my time there. The fact that Kenzie does, very heartwarming. Thanks, Kenzie.
Unbelievable. Yeah, great to see not just Tyson Philpott inspiring people, but I mean, in all honesty, Kenzie did tell me she had a lot of help from the Bombers being able to pull this off. But I said, you have to get the right shoulder pads.
Brad Foddy.
Yeah, Brad Foddy, there you go.
MVP.
And back down into I feel like I should do a sideline report here on Kenzie. She even got the pants? She got the full uniform.
Now, I am going to quickly say, when we talked about doing Halloween costumes this week, you know, going with the season, I think Kenzie took it as a competition, right? You and I thought we'd dress up for fun. Kenzie's all business.
Yeah. Second down and 3 here. Montreal gets the first down. Walter Fletcher on the carry for 4. Shocking that Kenzie would be competitive based on her sporting background.
Yes. Yes, the former Mount Allison hockey star. Short run there for Walter Fletcher.
Alouettes offensive line, the interior starting to gel down the stretch here. Pierre-Olivier Lestage, top graded left guard in the league. Justin Lawrence. Philippe Gagnon, a right guard as well, as they'll follow in behind them as well. And a run right down that left hash. Walter Fletcher starting to pick up steam. And that'll be a gain, if it looks like, about 8 on first down. A nice piece that time, once again for 25.
Yeah, getting into double tight formation there. Going to get bodies moving, and once again, Alouettes looking to get that run game going as well. So many things they can build off that, whether it's Cody Fajardo or Davis Alexander, whom we may see later in this one at quarterback.
See Tony Jones there filling in for Adam Bighill at middle linebacker, having a conversation with Retta Cramby as they try to stop the running attack. And now Fajardo goes to the air. Tyler Sneed makes the grab. And on second down, short of the sticks. And what will Montreal do here? Jason Moss looks like he's sending out the punting unit.
Well, Jason Moss looking to give a few different looks here. Moving Tyler Sneed around in that formation. That time again, exchange of responsibilities that we often see with a slot coming in, allowing the back to free release. Tyler Snead had sort of the running back check release and protection that time.
Great tackle there by Michael Griffin as well. Missed the game. Game time decision 2 weeks ago against the Argonauts. Back in the lineup. A big stop as Lucky Whitehead chases this one inside his 5-yard line. It sits up perfectly on an Alouettes bounce, and Whitehead trying to make the most of it. A flag comes out at the end of the play as well as Brock Gowanlock, Canadian at the University of Manitoba, down the field, but a 49-yard punt that time from Joseph Zima. Whitehead doing everything he can
During
to
the
gain it back.
return, illegal
The
block.
Alouettes making the most of a beautiful afternoon here in Montreal.
I am disappointed in this panel. Have you seen what Marshall, Dwayne, and Kenzie are doing? They are taking Halloween to a different level. And you
your
guys show
fault.
up in suits?
Well, I'm going as a gorgeous man. That's what I'm going as my Halloween
oh my
costume.
goodness. Well done, Kenzie. You win the day. You win the day.
Yeah, you can't beat the Dwayne Ford costume with the full getup and the shoulder pad. Did she need a neck roll? I don't know.
You know, details of the costume, but she was working on short notice. Kenzie doing a fantastic job as always.
Agreed.
down there.
As the penalty went against the Bombers on the return, Lucky Whitehead just had, so it backs Winnipeg further into their own end at the 3-minute warning. And Colaros trailing by 1 here on the road at a place he says he loves playing, and Brady Oliveira running hard out to the 10-yard line.
Yeah, limited options when you get pinned in this part of the field. Terrific punt by Jonathan Zima. Left Lucky Whitehead with no choice but to field it.
Well, the big vet Patty Neufeld is running the rail there, trying to look for anything and everything in his path. It looks like time called here. It's an Alouette down on the field. Oliveira has reached 1,000 yards for the 3rd straight year. Will be the CFL's leading rusher this season as we round things out. Game number 80 and 81 of the year here today. And he's number 8 all-time already for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers at over 4,200 yards as Terry Wilson. Actually, Najee Murray looks like he's down on a knee.
Murray, the longest serving defensive player on this Montreal Alouettes squad. Attended the same high school as Zach Colaros, Steubenville, Ohio.
Remember a game here a couple of years ago where Zach sounded like the old savvy vet saying, "I'm just so proud of that kid."
Yeah, well, Najee was the ball boy, actually, when Zach played.
Terry Wilson hands it off. Look at that, Dwayne. It is possible in a short yardage package to get it to the running back. How about that?
Going old school, turning back the clock. Bombers offensive line getting into their comfort zone there, moving bodies from the line of scrimmage. Knowing they've got Brady Oliveira coming downhill behind them.
Also some creative solution making you'd have to think for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, because short yardage was not a strength against the Toronto Argonauts with Terry Wilson in. Chris Strevler done for the year with the knee injury. And so looks like they lean on Brady Oliveira in those situations a little bit more as well. 1st and 10. From the Bombers 15 as the leaves fall here in Montreal. Colaros rips it outside. Ontario Wilson one-on-one with Cavianento. And Wilson dives to the 1st down marker. Looks like he's got it.
Yeah, it's a simple thing, but this is a nice run after the catch by Wilson. Ento's got a pretty good angle on him, but just tipping the shoulder, getting to the outside. Nothing fancy here. He's just running for that marker. Successfully moving the sticks for his team.
Saw Dom Rhymes go over 1,000 yards receiving on the season last night in Ottawa. Well, there goes Ontario Wilson. You have that on your bingo card in 2024. Ontario Wilson, 1,000-yard receiver for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
Sir,
congratulations to him. Inside handoff. Oliveira looking for running room. And everybody from the Alouettes front 7 adding in to try and get the stop. Dylan Wynn in the middle of the fray.
A steady diet of Brady Oliveira facing the Alouettes defense right now. We're looking to wear down the Montreal front a little bit.
Had a great shot a couple weeks ago of Michael Wakefield, outstanding defensive player for the Ottawa Redblacks, and his helmet all scarred up and scratches and everything. That's the most Dylan Wynn jersey possible.
Yes.
It's already ripped. Not even halftime yet. Polaros looks left, comes back over the middle. Now he's got to extend the play. Pressure coming on. Tyrese Beverett brings down Zach.
Yeah, with all due respect to so many other great defensive players in the Canadian Football League, not that I get a vote, but this is a guy who I think has been the most outstanding defensive player in the CFL this year. Impactful in so many different ways.
The man that he just brought down agreed with you when we spoke with him a couple days ago. Also love Tyrese. He's a stat stuffer in every single way. Most total defensive plays on the season. He wasn't just going for the sack there. You see him reaching for the football, ripping. He wanted the sack, the forced fumble, the fumble recovery. He's greedy, and he goes after it every single day. For the Alouettes defense. Big punt drops down to Lindsay after a 49-yard punt. Minimal return. As halftime coming up with the panel. You know what? I bet they've got some costumes hidden somewhere. They're in the spirit. They've got something hidden back there.
Be creative, right?
I mean, Milt's probably going to be able to fit into the same ones that he wore in high school. Just pull one of those out. Jason Moss back to the call sheet with 46 seconds remaining. Low scoring but entertaining first half here. As Winnipeg looking to win and clinch the West Division, for the Riders take the field later on. Austin Mack takes the grab on that wide side. Simple little curl route, but getting Mack up to speed before the East final, gain of 7.
Again, I think if you look over the course of the season, it might be these two teams that have had the most different permutations and combinations of starting receiving cores over the course of this year. It's due to injuries, players coming and going.
Fajardo, deeper drop this time, works left, comes back over the middle. There's Cole Speaker. And Speaker pushes the pile along with some help. 7 touchdowns on the season for Cole Speaker. Seems like just a couple years ago we were watching him play in a Week 21 game and getting his first opportunities on the road against Toronto. Here he is as a primary player for the Alouettes.
Yeah, exactly the development curve that you want for a young player, quite frankly.
They'll empty it out. Walter Fletcher to the flats. That's where Fajardo goes. The 45, putting his foot in the ground, and Fletcher goes and gets some more. This is on 1st and 10. Looks like he's got 8 yards.
And this is bread and butter stuff as far as the Montreal offense goes. Walter Fletcher in the flat, high percentage throw. Let him pick up what he can after the catch.
Fajardo now with 18 seconds remaining in this first half. Has a 2nd and 2 from the Winnipeg 39. Quick drop, looks outside. Tyler Sneed gets a foot down, first down. Stop the clock, get it to the 30. They are well within the range. Jose Maltos right now, but how much more will they try and dig out before they send out the field goal unit?
Yeah, nice route there. Smooth break to the out by Tyler Sneed. Timing throw from Cody Fajardo.
His route running look easy, doesn't he?
Yeah, smooth player.
Really nice find for the Alouettes. .14 seconds left. 4 receivers available. Fajardo, he'll take a shot and got forced to the outside. And I think he knew if he left that one hanging inside, Terrell Bonds was going to head the other direction.
Yeah, taking a shot was exactly it. Knew it maybe wasn't a high percentage throw, but understood where he had to put that ball to keep it away from the Bombers' first-year corner.
Only 10 points on the board for Montreal, but that one ends a 12 completion streak for Cody Fajardo. Now he'll hand it off, and they'll center it up for a field goal attempt to come here from Maltos. Already knocked one in earlier on. And good situational football from the Alouettes here as they prepare for the East Final, right? Trying to understand, how do you win inside 3 minutes remaining in the first half, maximize your opportunities, but also keep the football away from people, which is really what they've done well, whether it's Davis Alexander or Cody Fajardo this year.
Yeah, such a big part of their success. And Jason Moss has been such a tremendous fit as the head coach of this group.
Only 10 interceptions on the season. That's the best in the CFL, regardless of who's been the starting quarterback. Fajardo's gone through injury. Maltos, never in doubt from 35. Knocks it through. Gives another flex and a 4-point advantage going to the break for the Montreal Alouettes over the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. As Fajardo getting into rhythm, finding his game, and trying to get the momentum going into the playoffs. The Bombers want to clinch first in the West. Let's throw it to Kate and the panel for the halftime.
Marshall back alongside Enoch Mwamba, Jim Barker, Milt Stiegel. A very entertaining first half, an interesting first half, and we'll get to the panel's thoughts on that in just a moment. But first, some breaking news from the CFL as Randy Ambrosie has announced that he is set to retire in 2025, meaning this is his last season as the CFL commissioner. Our Dave Naylor sat down with the commissioner to get his thoughts today in Regina.
Randy, we are 3 weeks away from the Grey Cup in Vancouver. Why the decision to step down, and why the decision to announce it now?
Well, I think the decision to step down's been been in the works for a while. Scott Banda, the chairman of the board, and I, talk all the time, and really kind of looking on the horizon for some of the next big challenges, media rights, which will be. Our current deal with TSN and Bell expires at the end of 2026, and that's on the that's a longer term project, and then of course the next collective bargaining agreement with the players, and it just felt for me, I've been thinking about it's been now, it'll be 7.5, it'll be 8 years by the time I'm done, and it just kind of felt like the right time for me to be thinking about passing the baton to somebody else. And, doing it now, because once the decision is made, it's never going to stay quiet for very long. And it's just good to get it out and put it behind us, because now what I want this next 3 weeks to be about is our players, about football, and not about some lunky commissioner.
I know there was a recent vote at the Board of Governors that suggested some thought that it was time for you to move on. How much did that factor into your decision?
For me, it's not about that. I think about this, and I think you can want to kind of make that the data point, but for me, it's about the fact that I feel great about all that we've accomplished. I feel great about my contributions to the league. I believe passionately that the league is much stronger today, the best ownership group in the league's history. Up arrows pointing on so many different things. To me, it's about a feeling good about all that's been done. It's feeling good about my relationship with Scott Banda, our board chair. It's feeling good about my relationship with the Board of Governors. And being able to leave and feel grateful for having had the opportunity to do this. That's honestly how I feel today, and that's how I want it to feel, because I think I've been one of the league's biggest cheerleaders, at least certainly by physical stats. I've been one of the biggest cheerleaders. I want to continue to be one of the league's biggest cheerleaders, and this just feels like a really good situation at a really good time.
You are one of the longest-serving commissioners in the history of the Canadian Football League. What do you believe should be your legacy?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe that's for somebody else to comment on. Look, there are so many things about the last 7+ years that I think about all the time. I think about Montreal, and the challenges we had there. I think about Mr. Braley, David Braley's passing, and being able to transition that team, BC Lions, to Omar Doman. I think about what we just did with Larry Thompson. I think about the implementation of the CFL 2.0 and all the amazing global players that are playing in the league today. I think about the up arrows on all of our social statistics, social media statistics pointing way up. I think about TV viewership dramatically up in the last couple of years and how good that is. But you know, for me, I think the legacy is that I loved the job. That if you ask me honestly what I think it is, I don't know there's going to be. I would challenge the next person to love the job as much as I have loved it.
Randy, thank you so much for your time today, and look forward to seeing you at the Grey Cup next month.
Looking forward to that as well. Thanks, Dave.
The chair of the CFL Board of Governors, Scott Vanda, said in a statement, on behalf of the board, I want to thank Randy for his leadership, for providing us with as much notice as possible of his intention to retire. His willingness to stay on until his successor is named will allow for a seamless and successful transition, likely sometime in 2025. Randy has shepherded the league through some very difficult challenges, including the pandemic and leadership changes at team level. To meet those challenges and to build a stronger brand with growing fandom, a new digital marketing strategy, effective ownership and leadership across the league, and rule and procedure changes that have delivered fun, fast, and entertaining football is a positive legacy indeed. Randy has built the foundation on which the league can move to the next level. As I mentioned off the top of the show, we know that every single Saskatchewan Roughrider fan is watching this current game and loving the score of 13-9, because if the Alouettes pull it off, then the Riders still have a shot at top spot in the West. Of course, getting that critical bye week. You can see the second game, the last game of the regular season between the Stampeders and the Roughriders, 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific. What kind of last day in the CFL is this? It's pretty great when you get to week 21. But Milt, we're just sitting here on the panel. We're a little shocked at the Bombers, to be quite honest with you. We thought there'd be a lot more intensity, knowing that that top spot is on the line.
They're not approaching this, at least this first half. They haven't approached like it's a playoff game, because that's the approach they need to have if they want to have opportunity to win the West, which is the easiest way to get back to the Grey Cup. We knew these Montreal Alouettes were going to come in hungry, but as a Bomber, if you would have came into this first half and basically put it on them, I think they would have shut it down a little bit, knowing that, hey, we don't have really much to gain out of this. We want to get out of this healthy. We know we have 2 weeks to rest, but now they're probably thinking we can come out and beat this team. And if we beat them and we make their road to the Grey Cup harder, maybe we don't even see them if we make the Grey Cup. So these Bombers better come out early in the second half and get it done. Otherwise, these Saskatchewan Roughriders are going to have a great chance to win the West.
You know, they were very pedestrian. It was like they just, like you said it, they just didn't put that extra oomph for whatever it takes to get to a championship game. They didn't turn the ball over. They did the things you have to do to not lose the game.
Right.
Zach was 14 of 17 for 130 yards. Brady Oliveira had 35 yards, right? But it was just nothing that said, this is ours, we're going to go win the West. And now they leave it for one half, and Montreal's like, hey, we're this close.
Yep.
We can finish this, and those horns are driving them nuts. I don't know, Enoch.
And you know what? To me, the story is that Montreal defense. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers don't seem to figure out their ways around. You look here at Tyrese Beverett, who, in my opinion, has been one of the better performing players in the East, period. He gets to Collaros, and he just doesn't seem to be looking comfortable at all. And this is supposed to be a game that you want to win so you can take a shortcut to the Grey Cup. So it looks absolutely, I'm baffled looking at this performance by the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
You know, I like what you said, though, Mel. I agree. I mean, if you can make the Bombers' path a little bit harder, that may help down the road. But at the same time, I mean, how long are you going to keep your starters in if you're Montreal? And kudos to Montreal. I thought they played a great first half, and they were trying to get momentum going into the postseason. But you kind of look at these starters, and how much do you want to risk if you're Jason Moss at this point? Well, we'll find out. The Alouettes currently up by 4.
All the first half statistics for you. You see the passing yards there for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, 131. Zach Collaros has been in rhythm, not really finishing drives, but 14 of 17. And no touchdowns, no interceptions. Collaros is standing alongside Kenzie Lalonde.
Well, Zach, as we break down the first half, this Al's defense just kind of comes in layers. What were you seeing?
Yeah, they're a really good bunch. They do a great job of, trying to eliminate explosives and keep them at bay. We got to do a better job of finishing drives, obviously 7s instead of 3s.
2 more quarters here to clinch this West Division. Just what's it going to take from your group?
Focus and execution. That's the name of the game. Play our brand of football and see where the chips lay.
Best of luck.
Take care.
And Zach Collaro's first half here in Montreal. A defense he says that's frustrating to play against, but he loves the challenge to try and figure out exactly what they're doing. And you see tons of completions, but just trying to add more points onto the board. He really does want to have that extra week to get ready for the West Final.
Yeah, and it has been an interesting game to watch, as you've got obviously two very good football teams looking to get themselves ready, maybe not wanting to show too much along the way, but just a great competition, right? Like limiting the risk while still playing at a high level.
Yeah, the back and forth between these two has been great. And you talk about that Bombers offense and not scoring a ton of points. 419 points scored on the season, is ahead of only Calgary in the West Division. They have not put up a ton of points, but they have allowed 82 less points than anyone else in the West Division. That Bombers defense will hit the field first here as Lindsay gets chopped down at the 25-yard line. Special teams battles continue, and Cody Fajardo enters the field as he will get an opportunity to play in this second half. Not expected to be like last week against BC, where we saw Davis Alexander.
And I liked Cody's first half in this ball game. You know, mixing things up a little bit offensively, spreading the ball around, getting all of his receivers involved at various points. The key is Cody has done is very typical of the Montreal offense, doing a good job taking care of the rock.
East title wrapped up for these Alouettes, but a 27-3 loss last week at BC. They'd like to put some points on the board here in the second half. Get into rhythm with that man, Austin Mack. And will they say that he caught it in front of Terrell Bonds? Yes, first down Alouettes.
A little comeback along the sidelines, nice footwork by Mack, getting back to the football, staying in bounds to make this grab. Maybe. We'll take a closer look here. Well, the sticks have been moved. I don't see any challenges being made. It looked like his foot might have come up before he had that ball.
Mike O'Shea keeps the red flag in his back pocket. Walter Fletcher gets a handoff up inside. Tackled after a gain of just a couple. But when you talk about trying to roll forward and get some momentum going, I'm not sure if there should be concern about the Alouettes offense, but they haven't had 300 yards of net offense since August 25th here at home against Edmonton. And in that first half, they were right and around 150. So they're on pace to be close once again, but trying to find a way to just piece together a full game and not have those 2-and-outs like they had to begin this one.
Yeah, interesting season for Montreal. They've had 4-game win streak, 5-game win streak. You know, you think about the way that they finished last year. That is not the way that the final third has gone this season.
3-man rush from Winnipeg underneath. Tyler Sneed running between zones and picks up another Alouettes first down. A full season of a healthy Tyler Sneed getting plenty of touches likely would have helped up that net offense, because he just seems to find a way to get yards in any situation.
Yeah, Sneed came into the lineup early last season. Just really established himself as a top receiver within this Als offense. Got injured week 1 this year, but happy to have him back for the stretch.
Take a little flip inside and get this one on the edge. Austin Mack turned around immediately by Evan Holm. They go to Sneed, they come back to Austin Mack, and you start thinking about Tyson Philpott. Saw him earlier, still ranks first for Montreal in yards after the catch, yards after contact, and all the rest.
And a nice play by Evan Holm here, just a bust in terms of assignment, as they've got to get him blocked up. One of the other receivers passed up Holm as the sort of number 2 defender, second most dangerous guy there.
Jardo looks left, steps up in the pocket, wants to lay into one. He does. It's up for grabs. Paul Speaker brings it in. Montreal in scoring position.
Paul Speaker lines up out wide on this one. You know, this is one of the things that stands out about this Montreal offense, as you saw Terrell Bonds stumbled a little bit, trying to catch up once Speaker got in behind him. But you never really know who's going to be the big play guy for the Alouettes. They don't rely on one player to provide that.
Yeah, that's a great point. So multiple. Rambo leads the team in explosive plays, but that time it is Speaker. Now it's Walter Fletcher inside trying to get away. And gets tackled after a gain of a couple. But whether it's Cole Speaker, Reg White Jr., when he came back, had a pair of touchdowns here against the Ottawa Redblacks earlier on the season. It's been a little of this, little of that. Keon Julian Grant gets into the lineup, and Tyson Philpott.
Able to pick up a couple of yards after Tony Jones stepped up in the hole to meet him. Fletcher's momentum carried him there.
And it looks like Jamal Woods is down for the second time in this ball game. So battling through something and in some discomfort once again. So Montreal, great opportunity here to extend their lead. It's a 2nd and goal from the 3-yard line. We'll have it when we come back right after this. As we enjoy game number 80 of the CFL season, the 81st and final wraps up the regular season this evening. Stamps, Riders, 7 Eastern, 6 Central on TSN, as you get an opportunity to see the Saskatchewan Roughriders, who are anxiously awaiting the conclusion of this football game to understand exactly what their situation will be. And Winnipeg trying to lock this thing down. Cody Fajardo, 16 of his last 17 after starting 0 for 3. And has a 2nd and goal after Woods has been tended to by the Bombers training staff. Fajardo hands it off, and Walter Fletcher untouched. Touchdown Alouettes.
Well, Fletcher punches it in there following nice kick out block from his fullback, David Dallaire. They're motioning across the formation. Keeps the contained man, Reda Cramdy, outside. Fletcher turns it up and into the end zone.
A game in Montreal with a Laval fullback kicking out a Caravan linebacker. Just feels right this time of year to be talking about those two schools. And getting ready for playoffs in U Sports and, of course, in the Canadian Football League. And the Bombers in tough right now, as they now trail by 11, trying to find a way to get a victory and hold on to top spot in the West as Pierre-Olivier Lestage getting work done.
Yes, sir. Left guard for the Montreal Alouettes. Very quickly in his Canadian Football League career has established himself as one of the best in the business. Strong, tough, physical, athletic player. Just another one of those building blocks to this Alouettes team that has come through the draft.
Olivier Lestage, 573 pass blocking snaps this season, only 2 quarterback sacks allowed. As Davis Alexander working the tablet there alongside head coach Jason Moss. Cody Fajardo, start to wonder, since the East is locked up, whether or not Fajardo will play the full extent of this game, regardless of what the score is. Alexander obviously 4-0 on the season. He's been exceptional stepping in.
And there's a lot of folks in Saskatchewan, I'm sure, wondering how the Alouettes intend to deploy their lineup through the second half of this ball game as well.
Well, right now, Montreal with momentum, and their defense set to attack Zach Collaros as Lucky Whitehead heads towards the boundary, then turns and tries to make his way back to the field. Wrapped up and brought down. Nice special teams play as Ontario Wilson reaches the 1,000-yard mark here in Montreal in week number 21. A look at his first half action. Some crossers, some unders, some overs, a little bit of everything from Ontario in this one.
Yeah, again, we talk about his development and some of the things you see him doing in week 21. Obviously, he wasn't going to be able to do at the start of the year, but gaining a real understanding of CFL defense as the season has unfolded, earning the trust of his quarterback, Zach Collaros, along the way. Big congrats to him on a 1,000-yard rookie season.
Long grab of 20 yards in this ball game as Collaros looks his way once again, catches it at the 31 and angles for the 35-yard line. They'll spot him just beyond. Looks like he reached and got another first down in front of a packed house here in Montreal. Officially a sellout in the final game of the regular season.
All the fans here gearing up for the East Final. Wilson coming from the backfield here, motioning across the formation. Just shooting out into the flat. It's a little bit of a rub there from Nick Dembski. See in coverage, Lorenzo Burns, the corner, coming a long way following him.
They will bring the sticks all the way across the field to get a look at it, but Montreal, you can talk about those fans ramping up for the East Final. They've clinched first, hosting the East Final for the first time since 2012. And that 2012 final was the 10th in a great stretch of 14 years where Montreal was at home for the division final. So these fans used to it for a long time, wishing for it as they pull the chain tight. And it is a first down for Ontario Wilson.
The short yardage team heads back to the sidelines. But big response drive here for Winnipeg. You know, Marsh, you talked in the closing minutes of the first half about the job Montreal did managing not just the protecting the ball in the final drive, but managing the clock, not leaving Winnipeg time to respond and so on. And I love that at the end of the half when you know you're getting the ball to start the second half, right? The back-to-back possessions, and Montreal made the most of both of them.
Big hit right there. Brady Oliveira to the turf. Dominic flew in from his defensive end spot. Brock Gowanlock, Sean Thomas Erlington. Love it as Dominic making his impact felt.
Yeah, Dominic saw limited action during the regular season. And he is lined up slightly obscured by Stanley Bryan there, but coming tight off the edge. Wagering that Zach Collaros might be looking at that one. Thinking about pulling the ball the next time. Going around the end for a short toss.
Empty it out 3-by-3 for Collaros. Looks down the seam. Dembski catches it on the run inside the 25-yard line and rolling before he gets tackled. But Nick Dembski with a huge explosive play.
This is a magnificent catch by Nick Dembski. Makes it look easy. But that ball coming on something of a line over the shoulder. Difficult catch as your hands aren't in a strong position coming that way, but Dembski reels it in smoothly for a massive gain for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. 54-yard pickup on the play.
They've been looking for those home runs. Haven't had many of them. Now the pressure comes, and Collaros rolls away from it, gets it into Dembski's hands once again. As Nick Dembski now goes over 1,000 yards on the season, joining Ontario Wilson, who did it in the first.
And this time, little play action type look. Big play to Dembski a minute ago. This time getting the ball in his hands closer to the line of scrimmage. Letting him go to work.
And the Bombers crossed the 200 yards passing mark. Averaging 256 per game on the season after that slow start. That's last in the Canadian Football League. Collaros only worried about getting in the end zone right here. Nearing the midway point of the third quarter in week 21. Almost dropped the snap. Somehow Zach got it out of his hands. Lucky Whitehead is the receiver and dives forward to the 10-yard line. But that operation slow and clunky right from the start.
And probably not the ideal play, given what they got defensively from Montreal on this one. As you'll see, the Bombers are just outnumbered, essentially out on the perimeter, with Deontay Ruffin free to make the play on Lucky Whitehead.
Football gets a little bit more slick when the temperatures start to drop it here in Montreal. Both these teams will be in the playoffs and battling through the conditions. Wind in the face of Collaros on 2nd and 7. Has to get the snap up quickly. He does. Steps up in the pocket. Beverett all over his ankles. And the Alouettes get home. Najee Murray alongside Beverett. And Dominic once again in the middle of it all.
Yeah, Collaros able to pick up a couple of yards on the play, but this is just self-preservation as he's stepping up and realizes there's so much chaos in front of him. There's going to be no opportunity to try and throw the football. Tyrese Beverette, as usual, one of those agents of chaos.
How easy he makes that pass rush look. The MOP front runners from 15 yards away. And Sergio Castillo makes it a one-possession game. 8 points the difference between Winnipeg and Montreal as Mike O'Shea trying to scheme how he's going to get this team a bye week. Go straight to the West Final by winning the division. That'll help from Sergio Castillo. Tyrell Ford ranking second in the CFL with 7 interceptions, just one back of the CFL leads. It's way back only to 1992. Winston Rose had 9 in 2019. Javon Johnson, but who's that guy? Well, Montreal connection here.
Yes, sir. Our man Chesney, last Canadian to lead the Canadian Football League in interceptions, 9 of them in 2000. Both great Canadian corners, obviously not a so-called traditional Canadian position. Ches kind of broke that mold when he came in and earned a starting spot as a young Alouette. And Tyrell Ford certainly doing the same here with the Bombers.
Sean Thomas Erlington in the backfield alongside Cody Fajardo. And Thomas Erlington gets the touch, hits the outside, and gets turned around. Nice play coming down that time was Dietrich Nichols to finish off the play.
Yeah. Dietrich Nichols, one of the quiet leaders of this Winnipeg Blue Bombers defense. You know, the more you talk to coaches and players around that team, you really get a sense of what number 1 means to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers D.
Nichols in his 4th year out of South Florida. Following up on Tony Jones, who seems like he's everywhere all of a sudden as the season comes to a close here in the last couple of weeks. Fajardo, pressure, steps up in the pocket, and he will fall forward and pick up a gain of what looks like about 4 or 5 yards on the play as we roll towards 5 minutes remaining in this 3rd quarter, and out comes the punting unit once again for the Alouettes.
And you just imagine as Cody Fajardo starts approaching the line of scrimmage with this one, his head coach Jason Moss holding his breath a little bit.
Yeah.
And these two guys go back to their time in Saskatchewan. Moss was the Rough Riders offensive coordinator, Fajardo their starting quarterback. Great bond and loyalty developed between the two.
Rush on here. Joseph Zima gets it away. And Lucky Whitehead watches this one on a one-hop. Skip out of bounds into the Alouettes bench. As a beautiful fall day here in Montreal to round out the regular season. Tailgating was strong. The on-field action just as good. 4:59 remaining in the 3rd quarter. One of the MOP nominees from each of the 9 CFL clubs in his first half of action, running into a pile of Alouettes up front time and time again, taking lots of hits. I'm always amazed how quickly Brady bounces back up onto his feet as he does get the wear and tear carry after carry.
That's the importance of that recovery routine that you talked about earlier.
Rose fakes the inside flip to Dembski, now looks over the top, one-on-one. Burns misses it down the right sideline. Spinning back is Kenny Lawler trying to get away from Kavianento. And Darnell Sankey was trying to delete it all with a big strip. But Lawler, after the big explosive to Dembski on the last drive, and all of a sudden Winnipeg is flying through the air.
And you're going to see Lawler motioning, hits it running. Pretty good coverage here on the play, but for Burns with his back turned, he's not able to adjust to the ball. You can kind of see it all developing in slow motion from our vantage point high above here, that Burns was going to overrun the ball as Lawler came back to it. Nice adjustment, and again, that is with coverage there, the trust that Zach Collaros has in Kenny Lawler to make a play for him.
And here we are in October. How about the launch angle on that throw from Collaros as well? Just hung it as high as he could to give Lawler a chance. This inside run going nowhere, but if Lawler's going to get back to being their explosive downfield guy, and they can scheme things up like that, I don't know if the Bombers really care whether they got to play in the West Semi or not. They'll keep rolling.
Yeah, and again, it's a play where they didn't fool anybody, but Kenny Lawler is a guy who just makes plays.
Yep. Reese Beverett lining up, ready to go on 2nd and goal from the Montreal 9. Crowd into it. Last chance for a couple of weeks to watch their Alouettes. Colaros looks over the middle. Dembski settles in right next to the uprights. Touchdown Bombers. Rider Nation longingly looking on as the second half Bombers start to make big play after big play.
Yeah, the downfield strike to Kenny Lawler, the big one, but obviously another of those trusted veterans in the offense. Nick Dembski, as Zach Colaros threads the needle. Not going for 2 in the tie.
Zach Colaros, career touchdown 199. Only 3 quarterbacks have ever thrown for 4,000 plus yards in 3 straight years. Dieter Brock, Kahari Jones, now Zach Colaros. There you see Kenny Lawler with the big explosive play for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers offensive attack. Colaros faked it inside to Dembski and then just loft it as high as you can and watch 89 go find it.
Yeah, and play the percentages. Zach has seen this movie before. Kenny Lawler beating a defensive back in that type of coverage, and Dembski closing out the drive, as you mentioned, already hitting the 1,000-yard milestone in this game, adding a touchdown.
During the break, the bullpen was warming. Davis Alexander, helmet on, arm loose.
Yes, Alexander, one of the, we'll call him intriguing young rising stars potentially here in the CFL.
See if he makes his way off the sideline. As this one caught by Lindsay at the 20. And a kickoff return of 11 yards on the play, and there is number 10 making his way onto the field. So it looks like Cody Fajardo's 2024 regular season is over. Started 4 games, won them all for the Alouettes. Played in the second half last week on the road in the loss against BC as well.
And the number one word that comes up when people around the Alouettes talk about Davis Alexander is competitive. Absolutely driven young man. Waited for his opportunity, learned his lessons along the way. Talked about what former Alouette quarterbacks, guys like Trevor Harris and Vernon Adams Jr. meant to his development, as well as Cody.
Alexander rolls to the right, gets his first completion of the ball game, but goes behind the line of scrimmage. Walter Fletcher's Tony Jones chasing it down. It'll be a loss of 1.
And what a great in-season addition Tony Jones has proven to be for the Bombers. Went to training camp with Edmonton, where he spent last season when he was available. Bombers saw him as a player of interest, and I think he has proven to be even more valuable than they imagined in the absence of Adam Bighill.
Thriving in the middle of that Bombers defense. A 1-point football game here. They'll screen it out. Fletcher catches it. Good peel back block from the offensive line, and Fletcher rumbles his way all the way across midfield.
Beautiful execution here from the Montreal Alouettes on the screen, drawing the Bomber rush upfield. Couple blockers getting out in front of Fletcher. The Owls running back doing a nice job of making a couple of would-be tacklers miss on his own. Demonstrating the skills that have allowed him to pile up the yards after catch that we referenced earlier.
After Kenny Lawler had a gain of 72 on that last drive, that one goes for 27 for Walter Fletcher. As Alexander leans on him early in his playing action in week 21. This one inside handoff doesn't go very far. Rolling inside, 1 minute remaining in this third quarter.
Obviously a lot of time left in this football game, but nonetheless interesting to again note Winnipeg after their last touchdown choosing not to go for 2 points in the tie.
The analytics community screaming at their televisions.
Again, Winnipeg in control of their own destiny. A win or tie clinches first in the West for them.
Well, as we learned last night, single point can be very important in the Canadian Football League. Davis Alexander looks to the outside. Absolute missile for the right hand of number 10, and Tyler Sneed's on the receiving end.
Well, we talked earlier about Tyler Sneed and Ottawa's Justin Hardy, both coming from the East Carolina program. One of those run and gun offenses, lots of opportunities, lots of catches for their starting receivers.
And the official receiver development program of the Canadian Football League.
Yes.
At the very least, the East Division, as it stands right now with Sneed and Justin Hardy. Alexander, play action, rolls to his right, looking down the field, runs away from Brian Cole, and then gets rid of it as he gets popped by Tony Jones on his way to the sideline, and Jacob Mason, the nearest intended receiver. So a 1-point football game in week number 21. 1 quarter to play. 1 point separates these two. They could potentially, by the end of this game, both be division winners as we head to the CFL playoffs next Saturday. The numbers after 1 quarter left here, 3 quarters in the books, as up and around that 300-yard passing mark for Zach Collaros and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. But it's obvious, Dwayne, that Montreal, they've already locked down the East Division crown here. Winnipeg has so much more to play for in this fourth quarter. How do they get it done?
Well, you look at the players that they're starting to rely on a little bit. Kenny Lawler coming up with a big play. Obviously, Nick Dembski finding the end zone. I think Brady Oliveira in that run game is so much of the key for them. The things that they can do off of play action, RPO, that kind of thing, allowing them to get it done in this fourth quarter. It's been their bread and butter all year. It shouldn't change with first place on the line.
He's just Tyrell, and the Bombers just need to win this game in order to get themselves a bye week and a home date in the West Finals. So they can follow all their routines and make sure that they get into the playoffs on their own terms and not rely on Saskatchewan losing in the game coming up after this against Calgary. As Davis Alexander over the top, inside the 5. It's caught Lindsay, using him in the return game today, but a gain of 39, and Davis Alexander looks over the top to begin the fourth quarter, just like Cody Fajardo did to start the ball game.
Yeah, an absolute strike here thrown by Davis Alexander. Lindsay getting an opportunity here on offense. Brian Cole is with him, but just that little bit of separation. The tail end and a perfectly placed ball. Quarterback Davis Alexander.
Lindsay fired up on the Alouettes sideline.
Big first CFL catch for him.
He's under center. The son of a professional rugby player. Davis Alexander pushes behind his offensive line, and the Alouettes are back on the board.
Strike delivered there by Davis Alexander. Sets him up for this plunge.
Interior of that offensive line going to play a big role in how far the Alouettes are able to go as they look for back-to-back Grey Cups. And the rematch of last year's big game. right here in week 21. Alouettes fans enjoying Davis Alexander's ability to move the football down the field early and often once given his opportunity. But hey, they've seen that all season long every time he gets in the ballgame.
Yeah, very well-liked player by his teammates. Obviously, coaching staff and management seeing a lot. Davis Alexander could lead to interesting off-season decisions for the Montreal Alouettes as he's a pending free agent. But take a look at the scoring drive for the Alouettes. Terrific job on the screen to Walter Fletcher. Of course, the bomb to Tyjon Lindsay that set them up, and of course Davis Alexander finishing it off.
Jason Moss talking it over with Davis on the sideline as the East most points in interdivisional games since 1961, 2004, and this year, 2024. Back-to-back seasons where the East has had more wins over the West Division for the first time since 1998, 1999. And the Alouettes trying to make sure they influence the West playoff picture by holding on. Zach Collaros and the Winnipeg offense moving the football really well in that third quarter. They'll get a touch of the rock right here. Lucky Whitehead from his 11. Up to speed. Hits the Alouettes coverage wall and rumbles his way to the 34-yard line as Zach Collaros starting to piece together a really nice afternoon here in Quebec.
The need looming large for a response here for Winnipeg, trailing by 8. Talk about Zach, 20 of 23 on the day. Both he and Cody going for very high percentages today, approaching 300 yards in the afternoon.
87% completion rate right now as he tries to find another receiver. Scramble rules are on. And Zach rolls to his right, takes a hit as he throws this one away. Incomplete.
Yeah, just trying to buy time, hoping somebody could get open for him there, but pretty good coverage. Forces Collaros to throw this one away to avoid the sack.
Pressure from all angles that time. Wall Uguak trying to track him down from the backside, and his old buddy Najee came in, gave him a little bump.
Yep.
Defense asks for some noise, and immediately the crowd responds. Blitz from Collaros left. He steps up to avoid the pressure, points downfield, and then slides down at the 40. And a frustrated Zach look in the direction of Carrick Wheatfall. Looks like they weren't on the same page with the route that time.
And second and long, obviously, always playing to the advantage of the defense. Winnipeg's able to avoid this a lot of the time because of what they pick up with Oliveira and the run game so often on first down. That time they were sort of right in Montreal's wheelhouse situation-wise.
First 2 and out all day for the Winnipeg offense. Happens with 12 minutes remaining here in this fourth quarter. A little side-winding kick from James Machine, tries to flip field position 54 yards, but a frustrated Zach Collaros holding everyone on the Bombers roster to a high standard in week 21. Reddick Cramdy, one of the standout players for this Winnipeg defense. There he is in his time at the University of Montreal Caravan, and in front of a packed house here at Percival Molson today. He's got one very special spectator in attendance with more. Kenzie Lalonde.
Yeah, Marshall, welcome home, Reddick Cramdy, land of Montreal, where you've got great eats and, of course, some terrible construction as well as what Montreal's known for. But this is his first time playing in front of friends and family since becoming a mainstay for the Bombers Blue. You've checked an opportunity in particular for him. He started football later in life, 17 years old, despite having Regis Sibasu as his neighbor growing up. He went on to play for the Caravan under Danny Machocho, who became an important figure in his life, but none other than his mother, Fatima, who's here today. This will be her first time seeing him play because growing up she was a shift worker, so often it would overlap with his game, so she'd be sleeping and have to catch the Carabao on tape later at night.
Yeah, amazing to think that he's playing in front of mom for the very first time as Davis Alexander goes down here. But a great piece. I'd implore people to go to bluebombers.com as well and read. As a guest author, Retta Cramdy wrote a story of essentially his family and everything that football has meant to him. There's a quote in it that jumped out at me. He said, "Every good story has a hero. They say, my family are the heroes of my story."
Yeah, very cool for him to have that support. And also love that connection between he and the Alouettes, now general manager Danny Machocha, who was his coach in university, affectionately refers to Danny as his godfather. Unofficially, but just the support that he had from Coach Machocha throughout his university career.
Now Alexander under pressure. Once again into the backfield. It's Taiwan Garbett that time bringing down Alexander. So the Alouettes quickly off the field thanks to Cramdy and that Bombers D.
And you see Taiwan Garbett, who's taken over that defensive end spot opposite Willie Jefferson. Of course, Bombers dealt with the offseason retirement of Jackson Jeffcoat.
Jeffcoat's not coming back for the playoff run, huh?
Never say never.
8-point advantage for Montreal, but they'll have to send it back to Lucky Whitehead. And the Bombers, good return here from Whitehead. Burst through the middle, cuts across the 40. Sean Thomas Earlington giving chase and just grabs the ankles to prevent lucky number 7 from rolling the dice all the way to the end zone. A 54-yard return. And another Caravan. Thomas Earlington hauls him down. Well, there's Lucky Whitehead, had an opportunity to take it all the way to the house here. Great return right down the middle, Dwayne, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere, effort level off the charts from Sean Thomas Earlington.
Yeah, great pursuit by Sean Thomas Earlington to stay alive on the play. But you also got to give credit to the punter here, Jonathan Zima. We don't necessarily expect those guys to make tackles, but him forcing Whitehead to angle gives Thomas Earlington a chance to get there, because if he's allowed to just give one little juke and essentially keep going straight upfield, STE doesn't get there.
A great point. Yeah, didn't give him the two-way go. Either kind of forced him the direction of Thomas Earlington. Polaros fakes the run, pumps, goes underneath. And Wesley Sutton trying to bring down Kevin Clercius. We just talked about Retta Cramdy being a Montreal native, and there is Clercius getting close to the end zone for the Bombers as they try to narrow the advantage.
Yeah, another Montreal guy coming home to play in front of loved ones here today. Clercius caught his first career CFL touchdown pass in Hamilton a few weeks ago. Would love to add to that tally.
Plenty of people in attendance watching him as the Yukon grad. Terry Wilson into the ball game. Short yardage, turnaround, handed off. Brady Oliveira hits a wall, going nowhere. And once again, the lack of Chris Streveler appears, and you start to wonder, regardless of playoff seeding, in these critical short yardage situations, are the Bombers going to find a way?
Yeah, I mean, you can see Brady sees absolutely nothing here, ends up and is stuttering his feet as he approaches the line of scrimmage. I'm a bit of a believer in some variety and creativity in the short yardage situations.
Wilson this time, more prototypical, rolls onto the right-hand side. Touchdown, Winnipeg.
Get it done, and here comes Collaros. And the regular offensive personnel, as this time they will, with just over 8 minutes to go, look to go for 2.
The analytics community that was screaming at their televisions is now standing off the couch and applauding. The 2-point attempt comes in, most critical one of the season for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, trying to tie this up two tremendous finishes to the last Friday Night Football of the year last night. Looks like we're headed towards another one here in week 21. Zach in the gun with Oliveira and Dembski in the backfield. Looks outside, tries to lob it up over the top, knocked away. And it'll remain a 2-point game as Deontay Ruffin makes the play. And Collaros thinking that one through on the long walk back to his bench, looking for Lawler. Mutombo finger wag from Deontay Ruffin. Lucky Whitehead giving Winnipeg great field position. One of his biggest returns back in the blue and gold. He split his way through the tunnel. And Sean Thomas Erlington made sure he wasn't the one that got into the end zone, but couldn't hold the Bombers down for long. Terry Wilson plunges to the right-hand side into the end zone.
Yeah, I'm sure a couple nervous moments for Bomber fans there as they were stopped on first down, given the recent...
Slow.
One of the best personalities in the Canadian Football League. Glad he got signed on with the Bombers. After his release earlier this year is now Lindsay. Had the big catch earlier, tries to make his way to the outside. Gets to the 35 before he stopped, and a flag hits the turf as well.
Yeah, Alouettes are going to lose a few yards likely. It's an illegal block.
Montréal numéro 48, number 48, diverge de pénalité.
Fabian Ento got up with a little bit of a limp as well, so banged up on two terms here for 48.
And there you see middle of the screen, Ento with the takedown right at the point of attack.
Willie J, haven't said his name much today, but always on the hunt. Right now, eyes set on Davis Alexander. Alexander pulls it, gets it to Sneed in the open field. Great tackle. Tyrell Ford, it's not just interceptions. All around defensive back, holds it to a gain of 6.
Yeah, Ford staying at home. Montreal's trying to get some misdirection on this play as they had offensive flow with backfield motion going to the left. Slips Sneed out into the flat on the right side, but Tyrell Ford not fooled, waiting at home for him.
Using that 4-4 speed to close and make the play. Alexander looks left, comes back over the middle, finds Tyler Sneed, who pays the price to hang on to that one. And how Alexander got his eyes went all the way from the left sideline back to the middle of the field that quickly.
Yeah, a little bit of a leap of faith here as you see him coming back on that one, finding Sneed coming from the backside.
One of the less enjoyable situations as a receiver, to catch it and get sandwiched between the DB tackling you and the middle linebacker who's standing still like a brick wall. Tony Jones in on that one, as he usually is. Now they'll hand it off. Fletcher looking to get outside. Turns north-south. Brought down at the 39-yard line. Gain of 5. And oh no, Walter Fletcher. A little slow.
You saw Fletcher point at his abdomen there.
The training staff will come out and take a look at one of the most versatile players in the Canadian Football League.
Yeah, nice job by Fletcher with Tanner Schmeckel getting penetration at the line of scrimmage. Bounces this one to the outside. I wonder if this is just a awkward landing, maybe landing with the ball.
Yeah.
Sort of in his gut or rib cage.
15 touches, 90 yards and a touchdown, Walter Fletcher. And yeah, hopefully it doesn't look like anything structural, just landed on the football right at the bottom of the ribs, top of the stomach. Never a good feeling. Once upon a time, by the way, when I had the wind knocked out of me after a fumble on the goal line against a purple football team when I played at McMaster.
And were you suffering from PTSD given some of today's U Sports playoff results?
The good news is we scored 10. The bad news is you He scored 46?
Yes, Western 46, McMaster 10 in OUA playoff action today.
Back in the playoffs, Marauders. Way to go.
They were.
3-by-3. Davis Alexander to Cole Speaker. Down that left hash. On second down, Alexander dials up the connection to Speaker for a gain of 13.
And you just sort of feel the confidence with which Davis Alexander plays the game. Standing in, making his decisions, throwing the ball with authority.
Gonna get the old Bill Walsh quote, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. Alexander kind of has that vibe, doesn't he?
Certainly does.
Side handoff, Sean Thomas Burlington in for Walter Fletcher. He's on the sideline. We'll give him a gain of 4 on first down as Alouettes bleeding a little bit of clock here, headed towards the 3-minute warning. It's similar to the end of the first half. Some situational football, some playoff vibe football, you might say.
Yeah, playing it safe. Fletcher stays on that sideline, you got to think. Should see a fair bit of Sean Thomas Erlington down the stretch here for the Owls.
Lights are on. Temperatures dropping. The Alouettes trying to finish the regular season right. They won the East Division, and Alexander on second down, nobody open. It gets brought down, so they will have to give the football back to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers with 4 minutes remaining. And Alexander takes a quick look to see exactly what went wrong on this one.
Yeah, nothing open downfield. Nice job by Brian Cole, Retta Cramdy. The linebackers converging under control there. The quarterback scrambling upfield.
Well, Lucky Whitehead, who just had the big return, stands back trying to prove he's not slow. Joseph Zima, another strong season here in Montreal. The hands hot in that warmer until the very last second. A high spiraling kick. Drops down to Whitehead at his own 12. And this time the coverage unit will let Lucky get loose. Here comes Zach Kolaros. Always so under control in these late game situations.
Well, experience so valuable in this situation. Zach has been here many times before. Again, enjoying a pretty good day throwing the football. 3 minutes, certainly ample time by CFL standards, especially with the veteran at the helm.
12th year man out of Cincinnati. This is his 35th career 300-yard game in the Canadian Football League. Just wants to get some more points on the board as Oliveira stumbles his way into the feet of Darnell Sankey. A quick check down on first down, and they give him about 5 yards on the play. We've hit the 3-minute warning. Final time these teams in the regular season will see the warning. Dancing on the Alouettes sideline. Celebration of the Bombers. They'd like to celebrate a West Division crown. See if they can do it when we return. What a season it's been for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. An unimaginable start. It's incredible when you go back and look at some of the numbers from their first 4 games, first 6 games, and then all of a sudden, second half, they go on an all-time heater and find their way here with a chance to win the West Division in the final 3 minutes of Week 21.
Yeah, rewarding the faith of their coach, Mike O'Shea. Again, go back to the start of the season. Some new faces forced to play early, even before the injuries set in. New faces there, people finding their way. Then you have injuries on offense that limit what they can do, but never press the panic button.
Second down and 5. Kolaros over the top and double caught, and now it jumps up. And Tyrese Beverett has another magical moment in what could be an MOP season. Just like in BC last week, the football just finds its way into the hands of 26.
course, trying to push this ball down the field. Throws it into coverage down that sideline. Here you'll see.
How does that football stay off the turf?
Yeah. Remarkable. Sutton.
The previous play is under review. Le jeu précédent est sous révision.
So here's Sutton with the original coverage on Wilson. Off Wilson's shoulder. Okay, and that touched the ground. But one of the points I do want to make about this play is, had that ball not touched the ground, Tyrese Beverette gets the interception because he's running to the football, right? That's not his guy in coverage. He's covering Oliveira in the flat. But because once the ball's in the air, he's running to the ball, he's in position to make that play.
Andre Prue, our referee, has an announcement.
Upon review by the command center, it is an incomplete pass. Après révision par le centre de commande, la passe est incomplète. Troisième essai.
Montreal had this game in the vice scripts. Beverette got credited for that one, but it is incomplete. It was 2nd and 5, and so that means that Winnipeg will send the football back. We take another look at it. Over the top. Zach trying to make the most down the field. Ontario Wilson, and just got enough of the green stuff rolling around underneath their feet. Beverette not convinced.
Winnipeg dodging a bullet there, at least forcing the Alouettes out of scoring range before they give them the ball back.
And Lindsay waits for Sheehan to send this one his way. Drops down to the 40-yard line. And Lindsay wrapped up immediately. Great coverage that time from the special teams unit of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, of course, now led by Mike Miller, former longtime Bomber. As Davis Alexander heads out onto the field. As the Stamps and the Riders lock helmets one more time to round out 2024's regular season coming up. If this result holds right now, 27-25 Montreal, that game means everything to the West Division crown. Who gets the bye? Who gets the rest? Who gets the home field? Changes the entire feel of the CFL playoffs based on what happens in the next 2:22 here. And then if Winnipeg loses, what happens with Calgary trying to play spoiler?
Timeout, temps d'arrêt, Winnipeg.
Back into the ball game. Good to see that he's no worse for wear. But the roller coaster Riders, 5-1 to start the year, then 0-6, then 4-0, and they're all staring at their screens right now, no doubt.
And it seems to be the story for so many teams this year, whether it has seemed like 2 different seasons or for some 3 different seasons, but just a season of streaks for everybody as you see those standings.
And we were talking before we began this game, we said at the end of the season, you look at the season-long statistics. I don't know if there's a single team in the CFL that it makes sense to look at these season-long statistics this year, because every team had 3 different seasons within one.
Yeah, you got to break it down into segments.
Alexander facing the blitz, has to get rid of it. He does, almost intercepted. Was that Tyrell Ford? It was. Looking for number 8.
And he'd have been gone.
Oh, he would have been
caught it.
He would have laid down the fastest 40 he's ever run if he would have picked that one.
Austin Mack, the intended target. Tyrell Ford just sitting on that one.
So close yet so far. Zima. Snap from Barasa. Drops it down. Another perfect placed punt. Zima crushes it and pins Whitehead along the sideline as Collaros, after the near interception, gets another opportunity to have a career game-winning drive. It would be his 28th.
Such it as it is in the CFL game. Just over 3 minutes left at the start of the last Bombers possession. Big stop by their defense. A good punt cover important as well on the last Winnipeg punt.
Alouettes only took 21 seconds off the clock. The last possession. Collaros, four-man rush. Looks outside. It is complete. Ontario Wilson doing the bus stop turn, trying to find anywhere to pick up some yardage. And Wilson shaken up on the day where he hits 1,000 yards on the season.
Again, whether you're looking just at this drive or bigger picture, the Bombers entering the playoffs, you just hate seeing Ontario Wilson go down at this time.
Looked fairly routine, but obviously something didn't agree with Wilson.
Yeah, I think he may have, with the tackler reaching for him, may have taken a bit of a shot to his nether regions. Is that explanation clear for everybody? Or do I need to make this awkward?
Listen, man, I'm just Ken. As Wilson pops up onto his feet. Mike O'Shea. Trademark sly smile there. And Wilson heads over to the sideline. And the training staff tells Wilson he's got to take 3 plays off. So minute 50 remaining in the ball game, trailing by 2, trying to win the West Division. Now you got to do it without Wilson in a year where they've had to do it at times without Lawler, without Schoen still. Collaros steps up in the pocket, looking for open space. Tyrese Beverett trying to track him down. And slaps at Zach's legs just enough to get him. But Collaros using the wheels a little bit. Don't see that very often, but 2 weeks ago against Toronto at home, he had to try and extend the game using his legs just like this.
Yeah, Zach showing he can still get it done.
Five receivers for Collaros. Looks outside. Kevin Clercius makes the grab. Drop steps his way towards the first down, and he will pick it up.
Yeah, I wondered if they were going to award him the first down there. It looked like he might have been knocked out of bounds just ahead of that marker, but the official in position making the call.
Thorpe trying to decide his plan of attack. Do you heat up Collaros here, try and force the football out of his hands? You sit back, make them earn it all the way down the field. Not just the colder temperatures that make this feel like a playoff football game between the two teams from the Grey Cup last year. Collaros with all day to throw. Gets outside the pocket, throws it beyond the original line of scrimmage. And will live to play 2nd and 10 from the Alouettes 53.
And I think as much as anything, a time management throw there. Tyrese Beverett is going to join in on the blitz here. Good job by Dembski blocking him up.
Last night it was a goal line stand in Ottawa. It was a walk-off rouge at Edmonton. What does this game have in store for us? Collaros gets it away just before the rush comes, and it's incomplete. Wilson back on the field after those 3 plays away. But now 3rd and 10, minute 15 remaining. And everyone looking at the Bombers sideline.
Well, down by 2. Sergio Castillo already with a 60-yarder on the season.
This feels like Justin Medlock in BC in a playoff game. Long ways away, but
yeah, this is a tough one because you remember he hit from 53 in the first half against the wind, and the ball wouldn't have made it for more than 54.
Crowd on their feet from 61. Sergio Castillo, no! Swirling wind at Percival Molson throughout this game. And not kind to Castillo this time around.
Yeah, this was a tough kick. Again, we saw him kicking in this direction. The flags are still moving the same way they were in the first half. We joked at the time off air. He hit from 53.
Would have been good from?
Would have been good from 54. Wouldn't have been good from 55.
Nope.
And, you know, I mean, I obviously understand the Bombers' faith in Castillo, especially third and long, taking a shot. But, I mean, I don't think he can be too disappointed with that attempt because the wind was so strong against him.
Sean Thomas Erlington holding on to the football here, trying to wind things down for the Montreal Alouettes. Again, trying to get a series sweep over Winnipeg for the first time since 2010. That year they were 3-0. Calvillo and the Alouettes went back-to-back that year, of course, in 2010. And that's what Montreal has visions of right now, going back-to-back as they've already clinched the East Division.
Yeah, letting the clock run here. Ball security obviously is everything for Montreal in this situation.
Alexander lets the clock roll and then signals time to Andre Proulx as Collaros watches on.
Temps d'arrêt, Montréal, timeout, Montreal.
And the potential for Collaros to have to watch the Riders, his old club, before getting shuffled around to Toronto and then to Winnipeg, and all the history that's followed in Manitoba with that man at the helm over the last 5 years. But the Riders will have an opportunity, if this game stands, to beat Calgary and take the top spot in the West away from their prairie rivals.
Well, given the finishes that we had last night, in the first two games of week 21, I'm waiting to see what the next 42 seconds hold.
Agree. Go anywhere. Sean Thomas Erlington gets another carry into the right side of that line. Won't be good enough to pick up a first down. And we're talking situational football to end the first half and at the 3-minute warning. Here's where it really factors in.
Yeah.
How much time have you spent on executing the safety unit of okay, no chance anybody's coming through, but we have to get down and cover, and we have to put it in the right spot?
Yeah.
I mean, this is where coaches really earn their check. As all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the wind cranks up like crazy, and the flags are completely twisting, and we're getting essentially a snow shower of leaves, like a leaf tornado just came over the top of Mount Royal. And this could completely change the kick. And it's a sidewinder. It got into Zima's head, and it kicks out of bounds. Wow. That wind came out of nowhere.
This was unreal.
The football gods just smiled on the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
As Montreal trotted, you can see all the leaves suddenly blowing around. I mean, the timing of that was crazy.
It's not exactly Maradona. I don't know what it is, but there's some divine intervention that just caused the wind to completely change this football game. There's 10 seconds remaining. Collaros is right on the edge of that field goal range that we spoke of earlier on, because good from 53. If they don't move the football forward at all, he's right about there. Oliveira gets the touch, picks up a couple of yards, and out comes Sergio Castillo. And now it's starting to rain as well.
I told you to wait, Marshall. I told you.
Don't go anywhere. Doesn't matter if it's week 1 or week 21. It's starting to pour, though, Dwayne. I wonder, I mean, the wind that just affected Zima, it's got to be equally difficult on Castillo.
Yeah, well, what's remarkable is the flags are now blowing in the opposite direction of what they were on his last field goal attempt like 3 minutes ago.
Not even. A second chance, thanks to the weather gods smiling on Winnipeg. Low snap. Castillo steps into it. It's got the leg. It's good. The Bombers walk it off to win the West.
It's official, Marshall. God is a Bombers fan.
The CFL. Pretty good.
Unbelievable.
And look at the jubilation for Mike O'Shea. Where did that wind come from?
Apparently Mike O'Shea has been saying his prayers. I mean, I am somewhat speechless, and maybe you had to be in the stadium to fully appreciate how the weather completely changed for exactly that window of time.
The play clock had already been rolled in for them to punt the football away for Montreal.
Yeah.
And the wind came from 0. I would say, honestly, it probably gusted up around 60, 80 kilometers an hour from what felt like 0, maybe 10 at max. I mean, it was a 21-yard punt that kicked out of bounds and gave Castillo that opportunity.
Well, and a wind that moments earlier was at Jonathan Zima's back.
O'Shea's looking at that corner of the stadium smiling.
Yeah, with a look of a degree of disbelief.
Well, nobody who is here will ever forget what that wind felt like when it came over the top of Percival Molson. And Davis Alexander just, I'm sure, shocked by how that ended. As the hero, Sergio Castillo, is with Kenzie Lalonde. Oh, getting audio issues down there with Kenzie right now, probably thanks to the wind and the rain coming out of absolutely nowhere immediately. But we'll get a hold of Sergio coming up in a second if we have the opportunity. Colaros, another West Division crown in the regular season, gets the bye. Gets a chance to watch on and see in the Western Semi between Saskatchewan and the BC Lions. Everyone full of smiles on a crazy ending to week 21 here in Montreal. We'll throw it back to the studio. They can have their say, and we'll see if any wild wind rolls through on Kate and the crew.
What was that?
Wow.
Anyone?
Unbelievable.
Okay, so let's recap here. A gust of wind comes at the exact perfect time at the end of that game. I don't know if you've ever seen, I know the experience of football that I currently have in this panel is wild. And then they get a second shot. Sergio Castillo misses the first one, but then he gets to do it again and he makes it, and all of a sudden, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers are hosting the West Final. Milt, have you ever seen anything like that in your career?
Never, never. I wish I had a camera in the locker room in Regina right now, because I know they're stunned right now. I've never seen anything like that, to experience that. You know, they're about to punt the ball, and all of a sudden, this crazy wind just kicks in and just drops the ball down, basically putting the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in field goal range, and they win it. So Windy Peg for the win. That was unbelievable. Right?
It looked like a tornado. I mean, there was rain and it looked like a tornado, and the guy kicked it up and the ball went nowhere. I remember the ball that Sean White years ago kicked against Toronto. The ball went over the goalpost and then blew back. That's what it was like. That was one of the most amazing things I've ever seen, for them to not only get that chance, but then to have the wind behind that. Oh my goodness.
And hindsight is 20/20, obviously, but in that situation, you got to have somebody to say, we're going to take a penalty or something.
Slow this down.
Unless you got to think this can't last forever, and if they took a penalty, they would have been better off.
So here is the reaction in Regina of the team watching, and Corey Mace, and what are the chances? Like, what are the chances of this happening? And you think right now, if you're a Saskatchewan Roughrider fan, I mean, it looked perfect. It looked absolutely perfect. And now you know that you are in the West semifinal. But you know what? I'm just thinking to myself right now, this is the CFL. And this, Milt, is what makes the CFL so great. Maybe not if you're a Roughrider fan right now. I know it's probably too soon. But I'll tell you this, just these wild endings, Mother Nature all of a sudden is playing a part. And I've never seen anything like that.
If Winnipeg ends up making it to the Grey Cup and winning, we're going to come back to that play right there.
The win.
Because we know how easier the route is. We only have to win one game. And if they miss that or only get that opportunity, come on, we know Saskatchewan's going to beat Calgary, and their route would have been tougher, and maybe they wouldn't have made it. But if they make it to the Grey Cup and win it, that should be their play of the year right there. That one right there, that was crazy.
I mean, it really was. You could call this whole game divine intervention. I mean, I've never seen where it just comes up just like that for one play. Just one play, that punt, and game over. It's like they got the ball almost in field position to kick a field goal.
I mean, I'm trying to think about what you say as Jason Moss in the locker room. You talk about the fact that you played well throughout the course of the game, and this is your backup, Davis Alexander, who always gives you a good chance. But something like that to happen. But as a coach, I know you hear it all the time, Coach. I'm sure you've said it before too. You know, you never, point to just one play.
You were pointing to one play. We're pointing to one play.
This might have been the play, and that changed everything. And no player really had anything to do with it.
Well, these two teams played very evenly. Both had 19 first downs. Both had 380 yards. It was very clean. There wasn't turnovers. There wasn't sacks. It was a clean football game to come down to
until that wind kicked in.
Divine intervention.
Divine intervention.
I mean, we just looked at each other. I've never seen any. You could see it on the camera, and then Marshall and Dwayne, they're explaining it. That was arguably one of the craziest endings I've ever seen in a CFL game. And guess what? It's the last day of the CFL regular season. Still one game to go. And you can only imagine all those guys that were game time decisions for the Riders now, they're probably not playing the next one.
No.